Mr. Fix-It.
Proudly supported by AquaBion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
20 past... What is it, 20 past 10?
You're the man. You're the man looking at a clock right in front of you. You have 1, 2, 3 screens. I'm sure they all have time on the screen in the corner. You are so not professional.
And what is really ironic, he asked me, how were your 2 weeks off? And I said, well, I was running around playing football, so the body is wrecked, but the mind is fresh.
and he couldn't work
2
out the
seconds
time.
later, didn't even know what time it was.
The mind isn't that fresh.
Well, by my standards.
All right, okay, it's all relative.
So, Brian Cloonan is here from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore until 11 o'clock. His brain is yours to pick if he can help with any DIY matters and general domestication issues.
No, hold on now. Domestic issues, if you have domestic problems, you know.
I said domestication issues.
Ah, okay. Oh, yeah.
Are you domesticated?
Not the slightest.
No.
I know, I'm fairly domesticated.
Catherine in Tyrrell's Pass is first out of the blocks. She bought a new sofa in the spring of last year and is thrilled with it. However, the arms and the headrest are slightly stained. So whenever visitors are over, they probably don't see it, but I see it. And I blame my husband. And my husband blames my son. And I'll bet my son is blaming me. So what can I do? I love the sofa, I hate the stains.
It's funny, have you a spot in the sofa?
Oh, sorry.
Or an armchair? Yeah, I don't mean a spot in your underpants or anything. I mean...
This little spot is red hot for you. How's that, Declan Ernie?
I'd say he's worried. Have you a chair or a spot at the sofa or the armchair?
There isn't an arse dent on the chair.
No,
that's what
just
you're
asking,
implying.
The point being that if, does everyone in the house move around and sit at different spots? In which case...
Yes.
Do they? All right, okay. Because most houses, people have a spot that they like to sit in. But anyway, so what do you want?
Come on, hang on. You've had kids.
Yes.
Do you ever have anything to yourself?
No, that's true.
When they're of a certain age.
That's true.
So
yeah. And of course now, so I do have a favourite spot to sit while watching.
I thought you were going to say a favourite kid.
No. But so now I go in and sit down, and when I go to sit at my spot, the dogs won't move out of it.
Is there a point to all this?
Oh, yeah. So, the armchair, the sofa, the cleaning of and the protection of.
Yes.
Yes. So, get either a fabric or carpet cleaner, foaming type. Make sure and get the foaming type. And the reason for that is it comes out like shaving foam, so it doesn't drench it. Because the problem is if you use the spray-on liquid ones, it takes a long time to dry out. And the problem is a wet surface.
Wet liquid.
A wet surface actually gets dirty even quicker than a dry one. So use the foaming one, spray it or rub it into it, do it twice, as in put in the foam, leave it 10 minutes, put in the foam again, rub it in again, another 10 minutes, and then rub it out with a clean, lighter coloured towel. Don't get a white sofa and start drying it with a navy towel. That is looking for trouble. And once it's dry then, I'd leave it 24 hours, and then once it's dry, get one of the upholstery sealers. So 3M or Scotchgard, they do these completely clear spray-on fabric protector. It wouldn't come to me for a minute. Fabric protector, and it's really brilliant. You'll never know it's there, but it really does do a great job on keeping it clean. So you only need to do... the point being, it won't look different. You know the way if you were to varnish portions of your floor, you'd be able to see the bits that you did. Well, in this case, the fabric will not look any different. So you can just do the portions that are getting dirty. So you can do the armrests and do the headrests and leave the rest alone.
Excellent. Still sounds like work.
It's not work. See, work is relative. That's very, very little work. But to you, that's probably a lot of work.
Connor is in Monasterevin and he has a set of rattan outdoor furniture that is turning green, slime or something similar. They said it was going to be maintenance free. It's not. What does Brian think?
Yeah, in fairness. So the maintenance free would normally mean that actually anytime you buy rattan for any furniture really. So we've had a good few people come into us. Don't know why so much this year. we've had people come in saying, I have rust stains from my furniture on the patio. So if you're buying furniture, just be aware if it's a steel frame and if you leave it out over the winter, well, it will eventually, steel will always end up starting to rust. And then the rust will run down the legs or drip off the furniture onto the patio, and it is very hard to get that stain off.
Fascinating tangent, Mr. Politician. The question was, why do they call it maintenance-free furniture when it's not?
Yeah, I suppose nothing is in Ireland left outside for the winter will not eventually grow algae.
But what is the difference between maintenance-free furniture and regular furniture?
Well, in this case, it doesn't need to be painted. It doesn't need to be varnished. It doesn't need to be stained. So all you need to do, is the good news, is put on an algae killer and you don't even have to wash it off. So just get an algae killer.
That's actually a half-decent answer.
Yeah, spray it on or brush it on is fine. If you don't have a sprayer, brush it on and just walk away. That's it. It'll kill it. It won't have any negative effect whatsoever. And with nearly all these algae killers or biocides or fungal killers, the longer you leave them on, the better. So everybody wants to put it on and then they want to power wash straight away. So don't. If you're using, ActiWash or Drive Clear or Moscow or Mossbuster or whatever you're using, just put it on and leave it on. The longer you leave it, the better. We had a guy in the shop, I stupidly should have asked him to send me the picture. He'd moss on his roof and he put on I think it was the Drive Clear he put on, but he didn't buy enough. He bought one 5-litre container and he did half the roof. And I'll go back now and I'll do the second half. And of course, never did. Things got away from him or whatever. And so he was intending to put it on, leave it to work and then power wash. But he never got to go back to it. And then he's looking at it during the winter and he said, oh my God, it's gone completely. So one half of the roof, it was like a before and after picture. Yeah. One half the roof was perfectly clean. The rain had, the moss had died and the algae had died and the whatever, and the lichen and everything was dead. And then over the winter with the heavy rain, it all just got washed off.
He should have cut a deal with that brand. Put up their sign.
Here's
where they did and here's where they didn't.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely, yeah. I should have got them to send me a picture. If you're listening, please send me a picture.
Okay, let's move on to another question. There's a lot of comment and giving out, by the way.
About me?
No.
Oh.
About this story today of buses paid for at great expense by the taxpayer, over 30 million euro, 2.5 years ago, electric buses that are lying idle.
Oh, my God.
Because somebody didn't get the planning permission to install the charge points.
Oh, my God.
Anyway, more on that a little bit later. But suffice to say, there are a lot of those stories putting up the blood pressure at the moment. And I think people are quite justified in
good grief
some of their frustrations. Bernie in Moat says, the carpet in my sitting room is wasting away. It's
That has never been said about you.
Well, this next statement is true of you.
Okay.
She says, it's like it's going bald.
Oh, right.
You walked into that one.
I did, didn't I?
Right at the side corner of the room where our house joins the neighbour's house, it is especially bad. So is there anything I can do? Do I need to have a conversation with the neighbour? In the meantime, I'm considering covering it with a potted plant.
Well, no, don't ignore it, and it's not going to be the neighbour's fault. What you have...
Well, why is it on their side?
Just coincidence. It's carpet beetle. It's probably in other places, to be honest with you. So the carpet beetle or the carpet moth, it seemingly originates from birds' nests. And they lay their larvae. They'll only affect wool carpet or natural fabrics. You wouldn't have a silk carpet or a linen carpet, but they only affect if you have a polyester carpet. It's perfectly safe, and they only go at edges, or if you had, say, a sideboard with a long bar that's right close to the floor. So they won't do it in the middle of the floor. For some reason, they need to be at an edge, and they will eat the carpet away. It can get quite bad. So what's important to do here now is give every edge, go around the entire edge, out about 6 inches and give it a really good hoover. And then take that hoover bag and put it in a plastic bag and tie a knot in it before you put it into the bin, so that all the larvae that you've taken out are contained in the bag. And then what I would do is get some carpet beetle spray or bed bug spray or anti-crawling insect powder. Now, the two sprays are completely clear, so that's probably the handiest way to do it. Or else the powder, you rub it in so it can't be seen. And that should be enough to take care of the problem. But don't ignore it and don't try and cover it, because you're leaving a live thing chewing away and eating away. And don't know what the reproduction times are on carpet beetle, but they are reproducing and sending out, reinforcements and all of that. So make sure you stop it in its tracks.
Brian Cloonan is here from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore until 11 o'clock this morning. So, got something to ask him? Well, you can come on air and ask him yourself on 0818 300 103. But if you really don't want to talk to him, and I can't blame you, send a text instead to 083 30 10 103.
Mr. Fix-It. Proudly supported by Aquabion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
After 11, should we maintain the M50 toll, which brings in €250 million to the exchequer every year, but obviously motorists are frustrated with it because we have paid for that bridge time and time and time again. But if you take €250 million out of the exchequer, you have to find somewhere else to make that up. In the meantime, a man who doesn't do maths is Brian Cloonan from Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore.
I'm very good at maths.
You look like a mathematician, all right? Stephen in Ferban bought a new house almost 2 years ago, and some of the furniture came with the house. One thing was a solid wood kitchen table. But some of the chairs have become a bit wobbly. It's actually the joints and connections in the chair that are loose. I've tried glue, but it doesn't seem to be lasting. Would Brian have any tips? And by the way, I'm no carpenter, he adds.
Yeah, sure, look, I suppose probably he has tried wood glue, which is perfectly good glue to use. But what I would always use here is use an epoxy glue. But no matter which glue you're going to use, but first of all, an epoxy glue is a 2-pack glue that you mix together. It's infinitely stronger. It's much stronger than super glue, but it's also thicker. Like super glue would be useless for this because the joints are loose and super glue is so thin. And on raw timber, which in the joints is raw timber, it would just soak straight into the timber.
Now, I have to confess,
any effect.
I've never used epoxy, so does it come in 2 tubes?
It either comes in 2 tubes or it comes a syringe with 2 tubes inside, and when you press the syringe,
it mixes for you.
It either mixes for you or it comes out in two equal pieces. But epoxy simply means 2-pack. But when you mix the 2 glues, and you only have 5 minutes to work with it, they are incredibly strong. But I would say the real secret here is clamping. So if you were bringing this to a carpenter to do the job, he would have what's known as a sash clamp, which is a big long clamp about 4 foot or 5 foot or 6 foot long, and he would clamp the 2 of them together and give the glue time to set. Now, you haven't got a clamp, so what you do is you get some strong cord or twine or rope, and you mix the glue, put it into the joint, and then have the thing ready, tied round, ready to go. And then you get a screwdriver or a pen or a knife or a fork and you make a tourniquet. And you twist and twist and twist to make it really tight. And then you tie the screwdriver, knife, etc. to stop it from spinning back. And you leave it for a few hours. It will not come apart again. The combination of a strong glue, which is the epoxy, and the tourniquet will definitely take care of the problem. And then the other great thing, most of the epoxy glues are clear. So you can stick anything with them. And you can use the glue. You know the way many glues, you open the tube, you use it once, and the next time you go to use it, it's gone off. This does not go off until you mix it. So I actually used one that was 11 years old a while ago, and it still worked fine. It's only when you mix the 2 tubes together. So you're squeezing out, say, in this case, you're only going to probably do 1 chair at a time. So it's probably going to be really not much bigger than the size of a pea, or a bean anyway, and mix the 2 together And that's it. And then you can go again, and you can use it next year, you can use it the following year, whenever you need it. And it's crystal clear, and it sticks just about anything. So if you had, like I had a lady who sent me a picture a while ago of a Waterford crystal vase that she had. Now, upon close inspection, you can see it broke in two pieces, and you can see the crack, but only upon very close inspection. And it'll never come apart again. Like arguably the strongest point of the vase now is the bit that you stuck together.
Wow. And it's a good job. So, is there a trick then as to the amount of glue if you want in a glass situation not to see it visible?
Yeah, so you need, it's so strong, you need very little. So what I told her to do was, you only need to stick it on one side. So you have two pieces, you bring them together, and what you do is you mix this and just put dots. Little dots the whole way around, not a big smear that's going to come out. Now, you can peel it off afterwards if you had to, but little dots the whole way around so you don't have an excess of glue. Bring the two together, and what I told her to do, which is always a good idea, you kind of practice putting them together before you apply the glue. And what I often do is I bring it together, I put on a bit of masking tape, and then I cut the masking tape. And now when I bring it back, so I'm really just lining it up. You could use a permanent marker, you could use a pen, but if you're afraid it wouldn't wash off afterwards, what you're basically doing is making sure that when you bring it together with the glue on it, that you're not moving it up and down to get the right position. You're just lining the two bits of tape up together, and now you know it's in the right position. And then tape it or cable tie it or something to and in fact, if you wanted for your chair, if you had a pack of cable ties, they do join together, you could use cable ties to act as a tourniquet for your chair. But it's all about keeping it in the right position while the glue sets.
And obviously, if it's on a chair and the legs are underneath, nobody's going to see it. Use
Correct.
a bit more glue if you wish.
Correct.
You can be liberal.
Yes, exactly.
Next question. David says, the barbecue came out of hibernation at the weekend, and I wish it hadn't. In previous years, I would always blast the bejesus out of it with strong heat to kill the bacteria. However, herself is not happy that it is rusty, greasy, and, in her words, a bit sad-looking like me. Is there any way I can bring it back to life?
Yeah. So look, if it's a gas barbecue, just still blast it with heat, as the caller says.
Yeah, but that's not going to get rid of the rust and the grime.
No, but the very first thing you do is blast with heat. So connect it up, fire it up, turn on all the burners, close down the lid, and let it burn for 10 or 15 minutes. And now everything inside is dry and dead. So if there's any mould or fungus there, it will be dead. And then you're going to wash it down, and anywhere there's rust, just oil it with a bit of vegetable oil. So the rust is okay. I mean, if it's really rusty, get a bit of fine sandpaper, start with a wire brush, and then a bit of fine emery paper or steel wool. Take off as much of the rust as you can, and then use the steel wool to rub the vegetable oil in. And then put everything back together, close down the lid, and fire it up again. And that's it. It will be absolutely fine. Like if you have a cast iron cooking grid and if you wash it or if you don't oil it after, that should be oiled after every use. So what you'd normally be doing is after every use, close down the lid, fire it up, give it 10 minutes, leave it to cool, get a wire brush. If it's plain cast iron, get a wire brush. If it's enamelled cast iron, then just a nylon brush, and give it a good rub down and wipe it off with a cloth and just leave it to dry, or leave it to wipe it down with an oily cloth, oil as in vegetable oil, and just leave it, and that will stop any damage to it in the future.
Here's a question we haven't had before, and it's a real sign of the times. I recently bought a log cabin, and so I would like to paint the interior walls, but I'm wondering what sort of paint is best.
So, one of the log cabin people suggests the Sadlin Super Deck because it's self-priming, self-undercoating. So that's what you want. You want something similar to that. You don't want... Now, if you want, there's no problem. If you want, you can put on a primer and then followed by I'd always go water-based on an inside wall like that. You're not using ordinary emulsion. You're using something that is suitable for timber. If there's a lot of knots, you might have to use a knot primer first, so something like bin primer. But just if you're going to be using the primer, get a water-based primer and get it tinted to the colour that you're going to be painting it, because then life will be a lot easier and you'll only need 2 coats. Otherwise, 2 coats of the super deck or something similar will do the job.
Are you getting more queries like that about log cabins?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. A couple of them are very specific on the paint to use, because they want the log cabin to be a good advertisement for them into the future. So the likes of Eco Cabins insist on super deck or similar, because they want the cabin to remain as an ad for them into the future. So their warranty will only apply if you're using something like that.
All right, next query, 083 30 10 103, text and WhatsApp, by the way. Angela has wooden kitchen worktops which have turned dull and patchy in spots. Now, she needs to do something. She doesn't want to wreck them. What's the safest way to freshen them up?
Sorry, read the first sentence again. I wasn't paying attention.
Wooden kitchen worktops that have gone dull and patchy in spots.
Okay, so they would have been oiled with, if they're wooden, they will have been oiled with Danish oil. So what you do in this case is get yourself some 4-0 steel wool and a bottle of methylated spirits, and rub everything down with methylated spirits to make sure you have a really clean surface. And then you're going to give the first couple of coats, you're going to put them on of the Danish oil, you're going to put on with the steel wool, and you normally do it last thing in the evening, and don't put on too much. If you just put on a very light coat, it'll be fine to use the kitchen units. They won't be in the morning, they won't be sticky, it'll have dried overnight, but you're going to do that 3 or 4 nights in a row. But it will look amazing. And after the cleaning will nearly take longer than actually putting on the stuff. Putting on the stuff will only take you a couple of minutes. But just don't overdo it. People always want to say, I give it a good coat now, and then you get up in the morning and it's all sticky. So you don't want that. It's the lightest coat of Danish oil 3 or 4 nights in a row. That's it. Or you can do it in the morning if you're heading off to work and the house is empty or there's no one using the kitchen. It doesn't matter when you do it. But the point is just, it won't be just one coat. You have to build it up.
Right. Up next, a question about a leak. But first I have to take one.
Mr. Fix-It. Proudly supported by AquaBion Ireland, the limescale treatment solution. Visit aquabioниreland.ie today.
A mystery which the Midlands 103 news team shall look into. Report of a helicopter flying with a water container around County Laois and indeed over towards Tullamore yesterday evening between 6:30 and 9:30. So thanks very much for that report. We will investigate. From Paul in Banagher. We recently had a minor pipe leak which resulted in stained ceilings. What is the best product to paint over these stains so they don't come back through?
Yeah, look, any of them really. There's so many different brands. I'd probably go with the cover stain myself, but the 123 will do. Any of the stain primers will do. If it's really bad, give it the lightest sanding before you start and give it 2 coats in the bad area. So normally one coat of the cover stain or similar will do. But if it's really bad at a particular spot, if you sand lightly, you get rid of some of the brown and then 2 coats in the bad area and 1 coat. So what you normally do is spot treat the really bad areas and then give a second coat over the entire area with the lighter coat as well. And that way you've given 2 coats to the areas that really need it. And it won't come through then. Because otherwise it does. We've said this before so many times. It just keeps coming through. You think if I put on enough coats of emulsion paint, it'll stop. It never stops. It just keeps coming through.
Paul, I hope that works for you.
Like yourself, it just goes on and on and on. Oh, that's a dirty look.
No, I was just proving that I don't. I stayed silent. Sandra in Port Arlington has a glass patio door that shows every single fingerprint known to man. I clean it and within minutes it looks like a crime scene again. Is there anything that can keep it cleaner for longer? There isn't a film that keeps...
What's on the hand? So sometimes I would be saying to you, what you try to avoid, really the secret is to make sure everything comes off. So don't use, sometimes people will put washing up liquid into water and they'll wash it down, but then there's a film of washing up liquid left behind and that marks very easily. So I would always say just try washing the glass with a bit of methylated spirits, which means you're just left with the glass and nothing else. There's nothing there to smear. There's no protective coating. There's no fine film or something that will smear. Now, obviously, if it's somebody's hands that's covered in something, well, there's not a lot you can do about that. But the secret is as clean as you possibly can with no residue of anything that's going to smear.
You know you're supposed to put SPF on your skin every day.
Yes, I do.
Do you?
I do during the summer.
Really?
Yeah. I use a moisturiser that is SPF.
Geez, you're a terrible ad for it. But if you ever put that on glass, and we're still on a car.
Oh, yeah.
Very hard to remove.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great smell. It's an association with summer and beach and happy times. Terrible to clean. Sinead says she just got the house painted and the swallows are back building. Her paint is now their toilet.
I know.
How do I keep them away?
So it depends where they're building, really. The anti-bird spikes are very good. So the anti-bird spikes don't do them any harm. It just stops them from building.
Sounds medieval.
Yeah, it sounds like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, spikes on the top of the wall that the birds will impale themselves on. No, it's not that. They're very good for getting up. If it's in corners, if it's in angles, they're very good. Otherwise, if it's just along the fascia board, putting a roll of, getting a line, a fishing line, and putting a line across generally tends to work. So you're coming out about 40 or 50 mil from the wall, and you're coming down 40 or 50 mil from the now, I have to say, most people say it works. I had one lady who said they managed to work around it, whether it was in the wrong position, I'm not sure. But it's certainly the cheapest, easiest way of doing it. And you can leave it up, no one will ever see it. But you need to act fast, because if they're starting to build, you don't want to be moving them once the nest is established.
Our resident German genius has been in touch saying fingerprints are really oils. So best to wash down with acetone. It's in nail polish remover.
And you can buy acetone on its own. But I still say, sorry now, but I'd still say the methylated spirits will also remove the oils that would be there from the fingerprints without any problem, because acetone is a lot more dangerous than the meths. Although meths is flammable and so is acetone, but the other just does more harm if it's not washed off properly.
Here's a hack.
Yes.
From Paul.
We like hacks.
Paul got something from you a minute ago with the minor pipe leak. Now he's giving back with a little bit of information.
Oh, great.
So, for the patio door with fingerprints, get Auto Glim car window polish. It's available in Halfords and certain motor factors. Very good at removing fingerprints.
Right.
And I know Paul has a keen interest in cars. He would know his onions when it comes to stuff like that. So just consider it.
You would know his onions. I wonder where that came from.
It is an expression in these parts, isn't it?
Yes. It is, yes.
You know, as you travel around the country, you can drop a line and everybody
looks at you. You have two heads. Absolutely. And particularly a lot of our expressions, people in England, they haven't got a clue what we're talking about.
I think the biggest confusion for anybody coming to Ireland for the first time is our culture of slagging.
Yes.
We slag people we like.
Yeah.
Present company accepted.
Well, you know, the one I always enjoyed was that when a crowd of lads go out for the night, they will insult each other all night long. And when a crowd of girls go out for the night, they'll insult each other all night long, but they don't mean it.
Yeah,
and when the girls go out for the night, they compliment each other all night long.
And don't mean it.
Correct.
I know. Lorraine in Athlone says, the grout in the bathroom tiles has turned a lovely shade of not white anymore. I have scrubbed it, but it's not budging. Any trick to bring it back?
Yeah, look, but the likes of HG and Lithofin have grout cleaner that's really good. They generally tend to do a pump action one and a concentrated one. Go for the concentrated one. It's so much stronger. They can't sell the concentrated one in a pump action because it's too strong to have as a vapor. So all you do is, I think it mixes 4-1, brush it on. I use a paintbrush, so brush it on, give it 10 or 15 minutes, get a scrubbing brush, give it a scrub, wash it off, it'll be fine. Now, if it's really bad, if it's black, you see, then the mold killer, the shower mold killer, like HG or Moldex or any of those will kill it. But in the shower, that's only if it's black. So the colour is not white, which to me would indicate it's more likely a build-up of lime and everything else that's in the water, in which case the grout cleaner will do it. Now, there is a effectively a grout paint. It comes in a tube, like a big tube of toothpaste, and you just rub it onto the grout, and it will leave the grout snow white. But as we've said in the past, the problem is then the bad area becomes the good area, and the good area now doesn't look as white, and you kind of feel, do I have to do the entire thing? So I'd always put the effort into cleaning rather than painting.
Katrina in Abbeyleix says, my husband painted the garden fence last summer and it already looks tired again. Please don't ask me which product he used. I don't know, and I don't know if he did it right. But is it something that has to be done every year? Because the last time it was done, I recall it being 4 or 5 years ago.
Right. So I would say to people, try to avoid using a cheap and cheerful fence paint. So the cheap and cheerful fence paints are coloured water, really. And they don't really tend to need to be done every year. Whereas if you use, now they're much cheaper. And if you've an awful lot to do, I get it. It's hard to go for the dearer one. But the only thing is the dearer one will last much longer and will take less effort. So the dearer ones, so context, a 5 litre of fence paint is probably 12 or 15 euros. A 5 litre of a wood preservative is 50. So it's a lot more expensive. Now it goes further because it's thinner and it soaks in.
So it's not a straight equation.
Yeah. And it will last much longer. And here's the big thing. It will never peel. It'll just eventually fade. So the problem with the one that's peeling is to try. You can't just put another coat of paint over something that's peeling. You have to get rid of everything that's peeling. So you're either going to have to power wash it or sand it. And if you're power washing it, then you have to leave it to dry because you can't paint on top of a wet fence. And then you still have an undercoat of the old paint, which if it starts to peel in the fullness of time, it kind of just keeps coming off and coming off. So if
you either trade your time or you trade your money. You buy the product that lasts, or you put up with doing it every year.
Correct. Wow, that was very succinct of you.
Uncharacteristically so. Yeah. For a guy who didn't even know what time it was 40 minutes ago. Quick one. Michelle says there is a really tough smell coming from the dishwasher that...
tough smell?
Tough smell, she says.
Right,
it's probably meant to be rough smell.
All right, okay.
And the dishes are clean. It's the machine that smells dodgy. What could be the fix?
So there's something stuck underneath that's just a bit of a food. So I'd use one of the likes of the machine, what do you call it, wash machine engineer. Or do you know what? Honestly, just put a bit of Milton in the machine. Get a cup of Milton, put it in the machine, put it through in the hottest wash. So sometimes we use we're trying to be ecologically friendly and we're using the low temperature setting on the dishwasher or the washing machine. And every now and again, it's good to put a disinfectant like Milton or ordinary household bleach in your wash machine and just put it through in the hottest wash with nothing in it. And that's very good for cleaning away any build-up of anything and stop the smell from building up.
Nice one. Final hack from Carrion in Athlone, who paints her fences with masonry paint. Lasts for years.
So actually, when I said that a cheap fence paint is basically, it's really thin emulsion paint. So I probably should have said that. If you wanted to use the water-based one, now you will be paying a bit more, but you can use a masonry paint. I'd still say an oil-based wood preservative is definitely the best because the masonry paint is sitting on the surface. So when it does start to flake,
it'll come off.
Because the moisture is coming up from the bottom.
It will
come off. But it will last longer than fence paint will, quite definitely.
Brian, time's up. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Will.
You'll find him at Cloonan's Hardware in Tullamore, and he's back next Wednesday at 10:20. David Hollywood takes you through the final hour of the programme.